Hi there. I'm Cindy Braden, the SVP of Sales for Enzo Data, and I want to thank you for spending some time with us today, this afternoon, to learn about EnsoSleep's artificial intelligence scoring and participate in a group demo. There will be a couple of slides that I'll cover, and then we'll really dive into taking a look at the scoring in a couple of different workflows. And get an opportunity to really see how it works, hopefully determine if it's something that might be useful in your clinic. Before I go through the presentation of the demo itself, just a couple of things that I want to talk about. I probably don't have to spend too terribly much time on this slide, but as you are all very much aware, probably more aware than most people in the world, healthcare is changing, and healthcare, we're continually being asked to do more with less. Sometimes it's do more with the same things as far as technology rolling in, different documentation changes, patient expectations. Really, the world is constantly evolving, and it can put a lot of strain on the clinics as well as the staff. Probably not super new or a new thought to anybody on the call, but patients' expectations are really getting higher. I think as patients enjoy technology, they expect things faster, they expect things more efficiently, they expect things more instantly. In-lab complexity is really growing. If you look at the last bullet for remote care and home-based care, obviously as HST opportunities arise and patients, the healthier patients on the spectrum perhaps are taking advantage of HSTs, the in-lab patients can be more complex. This can add a lot of extra work on staff as they're managing those patients that have additional comorbidities when they're having their PSGs. I feel like I could say insurance changes and like mic drop because everybody knows reimbursements are constantly going down. Running a lab and a clinic where you can deliver the utmost in patient care and also keep a successful business going is something that's not necessarily easy. I have worked in the medical field for a very long time, like on the sideline, selling into it. And one of the things that I'm constantly having conversations with friends and family is they don't think about the fact that, you know, the medical providers have this, everybody's running their business where you have to manage a team and you have to manage profitability and you have to make sure you're paying your bills and stuff. And then the medical world on top of that is ultimately responsible for patients' health and patients' lives. And wearing those two hats, I think, can be one of the most complex things that you're having to deal with. And managing insurance certainly adds extra complexity to that. The stress on staff, it seems like there's never enough sleep physicians. And I know most of the labs we work with have fantastic technicians in the lab. We do come across labs that are having a hard time finding technicians as well. It doesn't take, more than 5 minutes of reading through a newspaper or an online newspaper or watching the news to know about the hiring issues in the United States. I think I just saw that they listed healthcare and education were two of the hardest and struggling really to keep staff. So if you are looking for additional staff, the extra stress that puts on the leaders of a clinic as well as the existing staff trying to keep up when you're understaffed. And if you have fantastic staff, right? Like how do you keep those staff happy? Everybody wants to keep those fantastic team members on their team, delivering excellent patient care and making sure you're helping them manage everything that they have on their plates as well. And then I mentioned this one a little bit earlier when I talked about patient expectations and the in-lab patient complexity getting more severe. The expectations of remote and home-based care, as I said earlier, I think changes in technology alone would have patients expecting that, but obviously COVID has only exacerbated that. People are just much more comfortable having remote virtual visits and taking advantage, your healthier patients, of having an HST versus coming in lab for their first sleep test and having a PSG. When I take a look at this, this represents at least a decent chunk of everything that is on your plate, whether you are the lab manager, the lab owner, the technicians in the labs. It is a lot, and this doesn't even encompass everything that you're having to think about. We would like to think at Enzo Data, we have the ability to help you with some of this. We are aware of all of the responsibilities, from awareness and having to make sure that the patients that need your services know about the different things, understand the severity of sleep disease, sleep apnea, the doctors that you work with, the referrals that you work with, the pre-op testing as people are about to have surgery. If you work in a health system or you work with a health system where you want to take care of those patients that are about to have surgery. So there's a lot of effort that goes into making sure that you're doing a good job sharing awareness and capturing any patients that can raise their hand, or referrals that can come in and say, please take a look at this patient and see what's going on. Additionally, I know screening, right? You maybe can't get everybody to pay attention to your message and the awareness of how important sleep care is and healthy sleep is. So additional ways to screen patients. You know, we've worked with a lot of labs or a lot of health systems that have put in a sleep navigator who get out and talk to those other patients, who try to incorporate like a stop bang, or trying to have some opportunity to maybe screen through EMR data. Everybody's using EMR now. That's actually my most recent gig, was an EMR. So I know the importance of all the data that sits there in the EMR. So if you can get patients to raise their hand or awareness to come in, you can screen for patients. The next thing obviously is getting them tested. Running a PSG or a home sleep test for the patients and turning over that diagnosis quickly, right? So flagging the patients, getting them tested as soon as possible, and then getting that diagnosis reviewed by a technician over to the doctor so that the treatment can begin. Obviously, that also comes with a lot of education, monitoring, making sure you're getting the patients who have been diagnosed with sleep apnea or narcolepsy or any of those things, that they have the ability to have that access to care and get them treated. And then ta-da, end results, having the patients doing better. I know this has been incredibly difficult for everybody that's been dealing with CPAP recalls and all of that that's on your plate as well. So end result, happy, healthy patients. You have all of this, and then throw in, you know, COVID protocols, patients not getting in for appointments with their no-shows. Last year, all of your staff probably had their kids at home with them while they were doing schooling. So there's just a terrible amount on the plates. You know, in all of these things that you're managing, you're probably killing it with most of them, right? But if you're here, there might be an area that you're like, well, you know what, if I had a perfect world, I'm doing really, really well with awareness, but we're not keeping up with, you know, screening or the adherence. I know we have some people on today that also have a DME, so treatment and adherence may be the area that is really struggling right now. So what do I think? I'm hoping that we have something that can help you with those goals. As I mentioned, we really work with the clinics and the labs and the health systems that we work with on the scoring and the diagnosis of sleep apnea, really trying to offload some of that work. So the product that we have is EnsoSleep. So here is my EnsoSleep at a glance slide. I am going to take you through a demo of it next. So EnsoSleep is artificial intelligence, and it scores the sleep studies. It does a first pass of sleep studies so that the technician can edit and review rather than having to score from scratch. It's very different than other sleep scoring because it is artificial intelligence that use machine learning. We are actually able to track when we score a study and we hand it back over to a technician, an RPSGT, would review it. We're able to actually track the changes that are made, work with the labs that we work with, and say, oh, you know, they could say, I'm constantly, you know, changing this, or leg movements or something like that. And then we're able to adjust it and continually learn from the partnership. So applying that machine learning, having the very best partners in the business, makes it the best scoring partner that you can really have. Something else that I think is really important as I pop over to show you the demonstrations of how it works, is talking about workflow. EnsoSleep is compatible with all major viewing software that you're already running. So if you look at this image here, it works in the background. I like to use an example. If you are a day tech and you log in the morning, you're probably ready to go get your cup of coffee. Maybe you walk in with a cup of coffee. You would take those studies, if you look at this image here, that are sitting on the computer, they're done, the patient is out. Depending on the integration, the first demonstration I'm going to show you is our integration with Cadwell, which is a really, really seamless integration and super cool. And Cadwell software actually grabs studies automatically. If you don't have Cadwell, the other systems are not too terribly much more work. You just take the completed studies and you'll get a chance to see that as well. In my second demonstration, we use Natus to give you Sandman to show you. But you come in, take the studies that were completed last night, move them to a server or a folder, and then they pop up to EnsoSleep, and EnsoSleep scores it and then pops it right back down to your computer. So you see that little pop it up to the cloud, and then it pops right back down to your computer. By the time you get back from creating your cup of coffee or settling in or saying hello to everybody, the studies are scored and ready for you to take a look and make your edits. All right, now let me give you some examples of what that looks like. So thinking about it, this is a video that we worked with Cadwell. They did a fantastic job showing how nice and seamless it fits into their workflow. It's just over a minute. It has a description on it, and quite frankly, I think they do a better job explaining it than I would. So if you don't have this screen up front, there is some reading that you're going to have to do, but it gives you a great overview of how the seamless integration with the Cadwell software and the Cadwell devices works with EnsoSleep. So remember, the study is scored, it goes to Cadwell. Cadwell automatically pushes it, I'm sorry, the study is complete, it goes to Cadwell. Cadwell grabs it, pushes it to the EnsoSleep's cloud. It is scored and put back so that the technician can open it and review it. So you'll get a quick overview here in just about a minute to see how that goes. As I said, this is automatic. You do not have to go to the EnsoSleep dashboard to view it. They're just showing you kind of in parallel how it's done, which is fantastic. Most people don't actually go to the viewer to see. And there you have it. It is scored and ready to just be reviewed and any changes made that are needed. One of the biggest advantages of Cadwell, if you caught it, is it is automatic. You do not have to drag and drop the studies that need to be scored at all. When they're complete, the software just grabs it and pushes it over to the cloud, which is pretty cool. This is a minute video that shows how it works in Sandman. I'll navigate it. There's no reading here. You can sit back this time. That was the only amount of reading that you'll have to do. But if you look at this, you'll see it's also terribly easy. So like I said, if a technician walks in the morning, they open Sandman and they scan for any completed studies. So we can see Remy is complete. They're going to go and highlight Remy's study, move it. So they're going to move it. This is where I was saying they're just going to put it onto the server or the folder that's been created and let EnsoSleep know that it needs to be scored. At this point, the technician could just walk away, go make their coffee, go say hi to people. again, for demonstration's sake, I just want to show what it looks like in the viewer. You have access to this viewer. It shows a lot of really cool things. There's insights and stuff. You can adjust if it's 3 or 4%, depending on the payer. Most people don't look at this on a regular basis, but just like to show how it fits. So now that Enzo has marked it complete, the technician sits back down, they go to the scored studies, they scan for anything new. You'll see Remy shows up. And from here, they go ahead and hit edit, and it's going to pull up the results for Remy. You're going to see the study was scored already, and then the technician has the ability to just get in here, review it, make any changes that they need, and just go on with their day. Hopefully getting through this, 75% faster than they would if they had to score that study from scratch. The last thing that I want to show in the demonstration area is in our viewer itself. We did release a new viewing platform in, I guess it got approved by the FDA end of July, and we launched it, I think the first week in August. So here's an example of what it looks like in the viewer. You do not need to use our viewing software. I just want to be very clear. If you are using Cadwell devices and everything pushes to that awesome Cadwell software, you can continue using it there. We've got that automatic integration. Really, our viewer, if you have a bunch of different devices and you don't want to have to manage different software, the cool thing about our viewer is it is interoperable. So because we work with all of those different devices, we can put all of your studies here as well. Not need it if your workflow is going just fine. EnsoSleep will score stuff in the cloud and put it right back into your viewing software. I don't know how to use any of the other viewing software, which is why you saw some awesome videos of what the workflow looks like. I do know how to use ours, so it's just an easier place for me to show you a little bit of what it's like to do editing and stuff. If you don't need a viewing software, if you love the software that you're using, you don't have to pay attention to this part at all. Just imagine that this is opening up in the software that you're already using. So it's gone to the Enzo Data Cloud. It is scored by EnsoSleep, and then it pops back right into your viewing software. I'm just going to use this to show you. So you'll see if I scroll outside of Wake, because obviously we don't want to have any scoring in Wake, which is a setting that you can turn on or off. I have it turned off, so there's no scoring in Wake. When you move through, you can see the scoring has been complete. So again, just picture this in your workflow. Your technicians could very quickly navigate through here. If something is wrong, whatever the tools are in your viewing software, you just come in and you make the adjustments. If something needs to be deleted, if something was changed, oops, I gotta click on the right thing. If you need to adjust, if it's Wake, one of the things you'll see here as you move forward for speed, EnsoSleep will actually only score up until the part that you are. Most people will click all the way through, so I kind of popped ahead. Let me pop back here. So as we go through, yeah, it's gotten everything now. Sorry, I was trying to show the demonstration, but as you go forward for speed time, it won't load the entire study. It'll load through wherever you are. So your technicians just go through here and they review the scored study and make any adjustments that they need, falling right into your existing workflow. So one of the things that I think is fantastic is, this is great. Hopefully your technicians, if they have so much on their plate and you'd like to take some of that responsibility off, fantastic. But I do think it's terribly important to note that it's only so good as if it works effectively. If you are interested, we do have our latest FDA clearance that talks about the agreement rate that we have, which is well over 90%. But I have a couple of examples for you because I think, again, if you're looking to partner with somebody and trust somebody with the results, it's really important to get a sense of how accurate it is. So this is an example, and I thought this was really, really useful because this is looking at the agreement for the AHI. And this is somebody who had only been using EnsoSleep for the first 60 days. So one of the things that's really important if you're looking at partnering with EnsoSleep is knowing that the first 60 days is really a lot of back and forth and learning about your lab and their particular scoring technique. We do apply the AASM rules to scoring, but as you know, everybody that we talk to is very, very proud about the unique way that they approach scoring their studies. When you start with EnsoSleep, you have the ability to fill out, we call it a pre-flight checklist basically, but a list of preferences on how you'd like to score, things that we have the ability to toggle. So I think looking at the first 60 days and how effective the software is just a great example. So this is one of our existing customers. They came to us because they had an 8-day backlog. It was starting to wear on everybody. They were feeling like they weren't getting the results back to their providers as quickly as they would like. And it wears on the staff, right? As things spill over, it tends to roll up. So, you know, lab managers were having to score studies that were on the backlog, which was keeping them from doing different things. It carries a lot of burden on the team. So in the first 60 days, this will get better, but again, I think it's important to think about what those first 60 days look like. Actually, it did get better because this is somebody that went live last spring, but in the first 60 days, we were able to reduce the time that they spent on, this is PSGs. It took them on average 45 minutes to 25 minutes scoring, freeing up a ton of time. And in that 60 days, they cut the backlog from 8 days to 2 days. And as you can see here, this is on the AHI, we had agreement of over 90%. So if you look at this, I don't know, I was not familiar with scatter plots. You guys probably are, but basically this was 318 studies that we scored for them in that first 60 days. And if you look over here at the Tech AHI and the EnsoSleep AHI, this is basically saying if it falls right on this line, the Tech and EnsoSleep scored it exactly the same. And if it's highlighted in blue here in the middle, it scored exactly the same. So it takes a little bit of time to get it, you know, as close to perfect as possible. The reason a technician needs to look this stuff over is because, golly, you guys are really, really good at scoring these studies. So there are going to be things that need to be changed when EnsoSleep does that first pass, that the technician needs to log in and get it tweaked, ultimately to make sure that we have the right diagnosis of mild, moderate, severe, or no OSA. So this is an example of AHI. I just thought it would also be neat to look at staging agreement as well. So this just gives you an example of across the board of the studies that were scored for this particular customer in a month where we agreed on staging. Again, I just think it's important to know because we have a lot of customers that have tried scoring with other systems and not felt like it did a great job. So the reliability is terribly important. Okay, so we have some people that have been looking at EnsoSleep for a while. I want to talk a little bit about the implementation period. As I mentioned, you do get 60 days to get things up and running. We love to partner with people and we really need the feedback to make sure that the scoring works in a way that fits the provider's expectations as well as your RPSGTs and your scores. So 60 days, we are waiving the implementation fee and you don't have to pay for your studies that are scored over that 60-day period because we really want to encourage the partnership and the feedback so that we can get it configured accurately and your team has time to really work on the workflow. Again, it falls right into their workflow, but it changes the way you do things a little bit. So the first part of implementation starts with a scoping call. Our customer success team learns about your clinic, has the opportunity to get some things sorted out. You fill out that pre-flight checklist that I mentioned, where you have the option to configure some of the settings that you like. They can always be tweaked and changed back, but to take a first pass at what we think will be the ideal scoring for you. We install that little piece of the software that's going to grab the study once it's complete and push it to the Enzo cloud and then take it back. So the installation happens. We walk you through that. It's really not very difficult at all. The first time I sat on an implementation, it took about, I think we blocked like 30 to 45 minutes and I think it took 10 and I was like, oh, it's nice that they have extra time. But it's something that we take the lead on and it's not terribly difficult. And then there's that quality assurance, if you look at the top thread here, which is about 2 weeks on average, depending on the software that you use. Some of the software, the integration is so good that it takes a little bit less time. But we take those pre-flight answers, we take a couple of your studies, we score them, and we take a look at, compared to how you scored them, how Enzo did. We look at them together and we get some feedback. And then, depending on how long that takes, you take the next 2 to 6 weeks of having Enzo score your studies, meeting weekly with the customer success team, providing feedback that says, hey, we're really loving the way it's scoring X, but it's missing snore, or we don't want it to score snore, or something like that. And then at the end of the 60 days, your techs should be hopefully walking through the office whistling and singing and feeling like they're really able to focus on the things that they love to do. If it's scoring, they're able to score more studies and not have to do that first pass of the scoring. They're really able to dig in on the tricky stuff or the tricky patients and get through more studies in a day. And if it's working with the patients to, call them before they come in for PSGs to make sure they're comfortable and avoid no-shows, that they have time to do that. All right, guys, that is my overview. Let's take a look at the questions that came in. So does this work with any software? It should. I'm going to say that, and I feel like it works with all major platforms that we're aware of. I know I showed Nate Sandman. We obviously have the direct integration with Cadwell. It works with Philips. If you have specific questions, your account exec on my team, they're all fantastic, can meet with you and cover that and go over the specific workflow for whatever scenario you have in your lab. Next question is, can you buy scoring on a volume basis? So yes, actually, I'm very proud of this. We have our scoring on our website. We actually have the pricing right there for you as well. So, and that's how it works. It has tiered pricing based on volume. What you don't want to do, we prefer to not support, is to say, okay, I just want you to score this study. We really need to be scoring all of your PSGs or all of your HSTs to learn the process. That machine learning kicks in and the feedback from the technicians. It's probably not what you were asking, doctor, but you don't want to just say, oh, let's have it run through this study that was a pain and the leads fell off and it's a nightmare. So you can certainly buy in bunches and volumes, but it really is designed to score all of your studies so that it can learn from your lab and take that first pass on everything. We do have pediatric approval. That was part of our clearance, our second clearance that we got in August. So we're very proud of that. Pediatrics 13 and up, which is nice because that allows for you to have the same workflow for the majority of your patients, which really is what's most beneficial for the staff, to keep that workflow the same. There's a question that said they were confused about Enzo data if it works with the biosensor. So yes, so as the either PSGs or HSTs are done, it's going to take the results of the sleep test, the measurements, the waveforms that were done on that patient either at home with their HST or in lab for their PSG. It is going to flag the events and mark the staging for you, and then your technicians will just open it up and review what EnsoSleep scored the study as. So hopefully that cleared me up. Next question, do you overscore on my computer? If I'm understanding the question correctly, overscoring is basically exactly what we do. So it works really well. Like I said, I came from the EMR data. I've been working with the sleep labs for about almost a year and a half now. And I was surprised at how many labs do overscoring. Maybe the night tech does the scoring and then the day tech comes in and does an overscoring, or the day tech does a scoring and then the lab manager does an overscoring. We would like to be the first pass so that somebody can overscore. It doesn't really happen on your computer, but the scored study will be deposited on your computer. EnsoSleep sits in the cloud. So let me know if that answered your question. Great question. Okay. Work with the natives? Yes, it does. So that was the demo that I showed you, the Sandman, where the technicians log in, scan for data, move it to the folder so that EnsoSleep knows it's ready to be scored. Takes maybe 10 to 15 minutes for EnsoSleep to score all the studies and pop them back into the native Sandman system. And then your techs can open it up, hit edit, review, and send it off to the doctor for their diagnosis and reports. Okay, so this is a great question, and it's very timely, Kristen. The question is, how is Enzo data treating home sleep testing data from an Alice HST for reporting sleep time? Is AHI based on total sleep time or time in bed? Actually, we, in our clearance that we just got, that I mentioned that the viewer got cleared in July, that we launched in August, where we got pediatric clearance as well. Drum roll, we actually got clearance for HSTs universally, short of WatchPat, to record total sleep time with a variance of less than 6 minutes. So we are very, very proud of that. The FDA cleared us to officially have total sleep time on our HST. I know you're specifically asking about Alice, but the answer to that is yes, as well as the other HST devices outside of WatchPat. So really, really fantastic news. Obviously, everybody knows the importance of having that total sleep time and just not the time that patients are laying in bed, not falling asleep because they're wearing an HST device and all of the things stuck to them. So it really has been a game changer for our customers and our partners, being able to have that total sleep time. So great question. All right, guys, those are all of the questions that came up. I want to thank everybody for joining us. I know that everybody puts so much time in taking care of your patients and thinking about everything in that sleep care continuum. We would love to partner with you. We'd love to help you keep your staff happy, offload some things. If scoring is what they love to do, create an opportunity where they can score, you know, twice as many studies in a day and really get a reach to more patients. We're hoping labs are getting busy again. I know some states they're not, that the labs are getting shut back down or getting filled with overflow from COVID and stuff. But a lot of the places we're working with, the volume is back up. And so now it's trying to figure out how to do a good job reaching all those patients. And we would love to partner with you to have an opportunity to do that. So let us know if you have any additional questions. Thank you so much for joining us today, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.